Okay, so today we're going to talk about thesis statement, and thesis statements are a part of the introduction of your paragraph, of your overall paper, and that's probably the biggest point. What exactly is a thesis statement? Well, a thesis statement, it's a statement or theory that's put forward as a premise to be maintained or proved. So when you're using a thesis statement, it's primarily going to be an argumentative paper. So what's argumentative? What exactly does that mean, Victoria?
Prove your point.
So prove your point. So you want to prove your point. So how exactly are you going to do that? Okay, so the purpose of a thesis statement is you want to interest your reader, persuade your reader, and make sure your paper is organized clearly. So you want to interest your reader. You have a good opening hook. You have information or a quote that makes them interested, that gains their interest. You also want to persuade them. So it is an argumentative paper, so you're trying to get your point across. So you want to tell them, they may not know, or they may have a different opinion of what you're saying. So you want to say, hey, what I'm saying is right. And it's also to give your paper organization. So in your thesis statement, you're going to say, okay, this is my first point, this is my second point, and this is my third point. So let's kind of practice with using a thesis statement. Start with something easy. So let's say it's bad to kill your dog, and let's disagree. So it's good to kill your dog. So Charlie, why would it be good for you to kill your dog?
It could potentially be good for one to kill their dog because their dog might be a danger to their family and people around them.
Okay, so your dog might be a danger to your family and people around you. What's another reason? Let's try to get 3 reasons. So another reason why you might need to kill your dog. Ready?
You might be sick and you might try to help him.
Okay, it might be sick. He's in pain. The dog is suffering. The dog has to die. Another reason. One more reason. Jay.
In order to keep the canine population low.
Okay, we've got an overpopulation of canines. Canines are going to take over the world. It's going to be planet of the canines in here. We have to get it under control. And so then later in your paper, what you're going to do is offer proof and evidence that that is true, that what you're saying is true. And you just keep it organized and make it clear. And that's how you're supposed to present it to a reader. And that's the importance of thesis statement. Ooh. Okay, so when you think about introduction as a whole, you can kind of think of the word hot. So you start with an H, and H is going to be your hook. So that's the big important part. And then O is going to be an overview. So what all are you talking about? And then T is going to be your thesis. And that's why it's important to cover thesis, because it's a part of the introduction as a whole.
Action.
Okay, so before we go on, does anybody have any questions about thesis statements? Connor, do you have a question?
Yeah, should you state what you're gonna include in the introductory paragraph?
So you shouldn't necessarily say what you're going to include, but what you're going to say. Thesis statements are always going to be a part of your introduction. So like I said, remember hot. Hot is, your intro should be hot, everybody. So you want to have your thesis statement in the beginning. But in the end, you can restate your thesis statement to explain to your reader that yes, I have proved my point, and I have written this paper effectively. I have persuaded you. So the whole purpose is persuasion. Is everybody clear on exactly what persuasion is?
No.
What's persuasion, Jay?
What is persuasion?
Persuasion is getting someone to believe something that they don't necessarily believe or might not believe.
Does that mean I have to include the contradictory side as well?
That's usually a good point, but you're not going to necessarily do that in your introduction or your thesis statement. Your thesis statement is, this is what I'm trying to prove. But later in your essay, you would kind of have to say, this is the other side of the argument, and this is why that's not necessarily correct. So we want our introductions to be hot. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to give me an H. H!